Buckle up, because that was awesome on the 49ers practice field. Both George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey back, and things got heated. Brock Purdy late hit Deebo Samuel and yelled something that I cannot quote at Fred Warner. But don't worry, they're on good terms now after a very competitive practice. Here are the highlights. There are the two stars of the show. McCaffrey back from quote-unquote tightness, but he had planned to miss 2 weeks anyway. And George Kittle, 7 months, 10 days after tearing his Achilles in Philadelphia, Kittle is back. The power of hard work and positive thinking. There is Christian McCaffrey, and what an embarrassing egg on the face of some who cover the NFL, thinking that Christian McCaffrey was holding in. Great hold-in form from Christian McCaffrey to have his pads on running around at practice. 49ers simply preserving his body for the long run. Deebo Samuel very, very happy that he is back. Today's practice was an absolute vibe. We might even be able to call it the final training camp practice. Deommodore Lenoir was back wearing a blue non-contact jersey, and you don't often see this, which we will in a little bit, but Stribling was in a black non-contact jersey, another different color of non-contact jersey. First though, what a vibe. Trent Williams and George Kittle on the combo block. That is a good sight for the 49ers. George has a shot to play week 1 against the Rams in Australia. There's Stribling, missed today with a shoulder injury in the black non-contact jersey, because there was a chance that he and Deommodore Lenoir would match up in team drills. They didn't want to have any confusion, so Lenoir in the blue, Stribling in the black jersey. And Dejan looked good. He's looked good for the 49ers throughout this entire training camp and preseason. See George Kittle doing his individualized tight end work. Remember that Michael Crabtree came back from a torn Achilles in 2013 in a little bit over 6 months. If Kittle does return for the 49ers in Australia, then it'll be about 8 months for his return. Still faster than the 9 to 12 month timetable that is often put out there. Mike Evans, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, Andrew Hayes-Stoker, 49ers assistant receivers coach, all in a good mood today at practice, because it's not every day that you get 2 Hall of Famers back. And look, one Hall of Famer, Christian McCaffrey, casually crosses in front of them. That was the day for the 49ers. Mike Evans is a future Hall of Famer, by the way, as well. There is Christian McCaffrey, who was an active participant for the 49ers today in team drills. 49ers also have returned Keon White to at least portions of practice. You see White there, and Osa Odighizuwa, well, he never missed anything. Osa Odighizuwa has been a force for the 49ers ever since being traded from the Dallas Cowboys. And just a little bit more Christian McCaffrey content for all of you. I do have to say that the 49ers offense, this has been a theme over the course of the entire month of training camp. The offense has had the upper hand. The offense is the locomotive that's going to be pulling this train for San Francisco, and the offense had the best of it today again. Now the defense is still without Nick Bosa. He is the one superstar whom the 49ers are still waiting for. Helps explain why the offense has had such a major upper hand over the defense in these practices, including today, after Fred Warner decked Kaelon Black, the young running back, in a hit that made the offense a little unhappy. Well, Brock Purdy found Deebo Samuel over the middle and yelled out something that I obviously can't repeat because the rules forbid us from quoting players on the practice field, but it did remind me a little bit of this. I wrote this article back in 2023 on Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. It was an epic feature story, and it talked about Purdy as a rookie in 2022 taking over the 49ers huddle. Fittingly, George Kittle is part of this story as well. He was clowning around in the huddle while Brock Purdy was trying to call the play. And Purdy said, "George, shut the up." According to high-profile sources whom I talked to for this story, everyone started dying. I just remember Trent Williams laughing too when he did it. To George's credit, right away he said, "Yep, got it, sorry," and he locked back in. Because Brock doesn't talk a lot, so when he does, you listen It was such a great moment. It solidified Brock into the locker room for sure. And then I confirmed this. By the way, that quote was from Christian McCaffrey, but I confirmed it with George Kittle. Did Brock actually tell you to shut the F up? And Kittle said, I smiled and laughed. I was happy he was taking control of the huddle. Good stuff. Very good stuff. And you know what Brock Purdy yelled at Fred Warner today reminded me a little about that. They were laughing it off after. Colton McKivitz went ahead and gave us some real context.
It's camp. That's what it is. You got two competitors. I mean, we're all competitive. But you've got two leaders of the team, two competitors of the team, and a period of practice where we're in the dog days of camp. I mean, we got two left till the game, and then that's it. So it's kind of one of those practices where, you know, everyone's a little sore, banged up, tired, but it just means more to some guys. And for them to be jawing back and forth, you know, it's great for us. It shows everyone's into it, everyone cares. There's a lot of pride in what the drill is, and we're competing against each other right now. So the fact that, you know, there's always going to be a little banner and offense versus defense, but we're just making each other better. No, I mean, he may give off quietness, but no, he's got some fire in him for sure. That's why he's a leader of this team and the QB.
Good context from Colton. And speaking of context, back to Christian McCaffrey. He missed the past 15 days. Turns out it was all planned.
Yeah, you know, obviously when you don't practice, you know, the way the media works now is firestorm. But, you know, this was kind of part of the plan from the jump, was to ramp up pretty big, get 9-10 practices in, kind of come back down and then ramp back up so we're fresh for the duration. So, you know, our staff's done a great job of kind of coming up with specific plans. And, you know, again, I feel great. So, you know, feel fresh, and it's good to be back out there.
I love the not so subtle shot at the media, the firestorm that a planned absence created. But of course, people have to get their clicks. Not every channel is this one. Not every channel leads the way by tens of thousands of views over all the other ones. But Christian McCaffrey there, poignant little comment. Let's make sure that we acknowledge that he has noticed how poorly all of this has been covered.
Football is the best, you know, and, you know, we're still, I don't know how long away from the first game, but anytime you're out there, you're with your teammates, you're playing football. That's why, you know, that's why we do it. We do it for each other. We play hard for our teammates, play hard for God, play hard for our families. And so when you can do it together with a group of guys that you really like, just makes it a lot of fun.
And I just love that quote from Christian McCaffrey. I think it embodied the vibe that we got at practice well today. This was the most intense practice, I thought, of the entire 49ers training camp. They are ramping up as they approach the regular season. And today it finally felt, okay, they're flipping this into regular season mode. It was competitive. We still saw a bunch of one-on-ones. I could talk about some of the matchups there. Mike Evans today working against Jack Jones, who's getting first-team reps at cornerback with Ronaldo Green out with the hamstring. That was a great two-rep battle in one-on-ones. Jones had a pass breakup. Evans had a win where he made Jones fall to the ground. So that's still training camp stuff, but today was probably the last day that we see of one-on-ones. And the 49ers are going to walk through tomorrow, back at practice on Tuesday. Then they play the Raiders in that final preseason game, and I would expect the starters and Purdy to play a little bit more, maybe up to a quarter on Thursday. But then it's full-on prep for the Rams and Australia. So this is when you want to see the 49ers turning the corner out of the dog days and into that regular season preparation. I will say from practice today, one thing that caught my eye, I really think now, especially that Kittle's back, this team has the depth at tight end and the performance level at tight end. Jake Ton just made a handful of big catches down the field. Luke Farrell continues to make way more plays in the pass game than last year, and he's a better run blocker now, second year into the system. I think the 49ers can run quite a bit of 13 personnel. Take the Rams' own medicine and use it against them in week one. And obviously the additions of the long linebackers like Duggar, like Larry Worth, I think those are primarily designed to combat things like 13 personnel. You have the length able to cover and close off the throwing lanes to the tight ends. And there's a proliferation of tight end usage in the league, starting with the Rams last year. All right, so now we can get through absolutely everything that happened at 49ers practice today, including the resurgence of running back, not just Christian McCaffrey with a big counter run today. McCaffrey, a featured part of team drills. Kaelon Black, though, continues to impress the 49ers, and so does Jordan James. His second practice back, he had a long, what could have been a touchdown against the second team, turning the corner on the right side. And we know that James doesn't have the same top-end speed as Kaelon Black, but he looked plenty fast there. Here, though, is Colton McKivitz talking about Kaelon's speed and how that can help the 49ers.
When you get a running back who's hitting the hole faster than, kind of what you're expected, usually you can feel a timing within a play, and when he's beating you there and slashing defenders instead of, shaking in the hole, it makes it a lot easier on us, and then also it just helps the flow of the offense and the way that we're timing things out.
It is really remarkable to note how the 49ers running back room pops now versus what it looked like about a week ago before Black, McCaffrey, and Jordan James had returned. Clay Kubiak today said, nothing against the guys before. They were fighting hard too, but 49ers, they either drafted or traded for the top 3 running backs that they had available today. And combine that with the heavy tight end packages, and the 49ers, they didn't have a good running game last year, and it wasn't Christian McCaffrey's fault. He maximized it. The problem was that they didn't have the perimeter blocking that they needed. They didn't have the explosiveness from the receiver position that they needed. Teams were able to gang up on the run game and snuff it out. They were number 31 of 32 teams in explosive run rate. I think it's going to be different this year. And I also think that the health of the tight end position, obviously symbolized today by George Kittle's return, I think it can help the 49ers be one of the top rushing attacks in the league again. You guys all saw Kaelon Black and how impressive he looked for the 49ers the other day in that first preseason game. Well, it has been more of the same, practice in, practice out. Now, macro picture, and I'm talking about certain small plays on defense, and then I'm talking about larger trends on defense. I think that's the side of the ball that's going to have to prove the most for the 49ers this year. We talk about top 3 offense being part of the formula. Well, the defense has got to be better than the bottom third of the league, and that's where they finished with those injuries last year. Romello Height also missed practice today, undisclosed issue for Romello Height. So without Bosa, without Height, without Michael Williams, who's likely going to start that season on PUP, with Michael, if he does start on PUP, he misses the first 4 weeks automatically. So activating George Kittle today from PUP means the 49ers are betting that he's going to be back before week 5 for sure, because they would keep him on PUP if he was going to miss the first 4 weeks, with a chance, and I think a real one, to be back week 1. The longer this drags out now for guys like Michael Williams, well, you don't bank on an activation and a week 1 return. So the 49ers are thin at that defensive end position. They're going to have to make do there. A lot of reliance probably on the defensive tackles, Bosa, Odighizuwa and company. One guy who I think is going to make this football team, after I've just watched the alignments for the 49ers, watched the preseason games, James Thompson Jr., the defensive tackle out of Illinois. He has not only splashed consistently, but he's getting run with very valuable 49ers units at this point, and I really like James Thompson Jr., good pass rusher. I think between him and Odighizuwa and Grayson Halton, who currently is still out with that ankle issue, the 49ers will have some real juice that they didn't have last year on the inside. The question is, can they find the juice on the exterior? And for that, this team is still very Nick Bosa reliant. It's going to be big for San Francisco. A couple interceptions today. Upton Stout had one against Brock Purdy. Ashton Davis, the second team safety, had one against Mac Jones. Might have been a pick 6. The Ashton Davis one was late in practice. That was when the defense and the offense were yelling back and forth at each other. Purdy hit Demarcus Robinson late, or on the very last play of practice to finish this. So the offense did get the last laugh. Fred Warner, a few plays earlier, had a diving pass breakup on a Purdy throw to Demarcus Robinson that I thought was one of the highlights of this practice. Early on in practice, we saw Purdy and Mike Evans connect on a post pattern. Later on, Dre Greenlaw faded back and had a nice pass breakup on a Purdy to Evans delivery. Greenlaw's been an active participant in some of these 49ers team drills over the last couple sessions after really managing his body over the course of this training camp. So you could tell it's getting closer and closer. One other player who's obviously managing his body is Mike Evans. He exited a bit early today, but not even a wrap today. I think that this is something that fans should get used to with Evans and the media, and I think a lot of the media will poorly cover this over the course of the year. He's managing his body like any future Hall of Famer with his resume has the right to do. He kind of limped off the practice field the other day against the Chargers, and then the limp was totally gone, and he was fine for the 49ers the past 2 days. He didn't even have a wrap like he did on his quad after that Chargers practice today. He just kind of sat out the end. And, you know, I think people are going to see this repeat itself over the course of the season. Evans' management during the week, and then we're going to see people freak out the same way they did over Christian McCaffrey's absence for a couple weeks of training camp practice. They're going to read too far into it, and then it's just going to look silly on game days when Mike Evans is going to suit up for the 49ers. So just beware of that cycle, because the 49ers have a lot of veteran players whom they have to protect for the long run. It's about freshness, not just in September, but also freshness in October, November, December, January, and into February. That's when the Super Bowl is.
So we're fresh for the duration. So, you know, our staff's done a great job of kind of coming up with specific plans. And, you know, again, I feel great.
One more note from one-on-ones. Jordan Watkins was fired up. He beat Jacob Robinson deep and slammed the ball down after he scored the touchdown. Obviously, every single rep means a whole heck of a lot to Watkins right now as the 49ers are trying to round out that wide receiver room. Speaking of that, Trenton Irwin, he continues to make at least a couple plays every practice. Today, he was working against Saran Neal, 49ers defensive back, and had a nice double move win down the sideline. If anything else, I think Trenton Irwin's going to find his way into this building after the cut down as a member of the 49ers practice squad. At least that. I think he's a dependable guy that you're going to want to keep around, a veteran in that receiving room, probably even able to help the 49ers in a pinch at that punt returner position. I'm not saying that he's in the competition for it right now, but something to look out for sure. Eddie Pinheiro's looking really good, drilled all of his field goal attempts at practice today. This was a long competitive session. I really think that we can expect the 49ers to start ramping down, tapering, if you will, as game planning mode approaches and that regular season starts to loom closer and closer on the horizon. September 2nd is when they fly to Melbourne, Australia. It's also when I fly. I'm flying to Brisbane, though. I'm going to see the Gold Coast in Australia. We got a lot in store for this trip to Australia. But as far as how the 49ers are going to be handling this from a body preparation standpoint, Christian McCaffrey spoke.
You know, that kind of preparation, you definitely have to prepare for it in different ways, whether it's on flight, you know, hydration plans, sleep plans. But I think we're going out there pretty early, so we'll have an adaptation period to try to get acclimated to everything. And again, one of the cool things about being in the NFL is you got a lot of guys smarter than you who come up with those plans for you. So, you know, we just show up, do what we're told, and go out there and ball.
So it is all rounding into form nicely here, with the Rams looming. Raiders coming first, but today, this competitive practice, not every day that you see two future Hall of Famers return to the fold. But that's exactly what the 49ers got, and then the intensity certainly matched the moment.
I mean, it definitely just gives us energy. You know, it just changes things. You got two Hall of Fame caliber players out there who are back out there and getting their work in, and they practice at a high standard and they lift everybody up. So it definitely changes your energy a little bit. Energy's not been bad by any means, but those guys being out there just inevitably lifts everyone up. So it's good to see them back out there.
All right, that was fun. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the hype button too. Do all of that. These helmet updates, well, I think they've been money over the course of training camp. So if you've liked them, make sure you comment that you liked them and make sure to hit the thumbs up. We will talk to you very soon.